Welcome to the archery lesson here out at Suez. Four main things you conclude in the lesson objectives of the archery lesson is first and foremost safety and rules. These should be gone over before anyone picks up a bow to make sure that we are safe on the range and no one gets hurt. You can also include the different parts of the arrow and not only the recurve but also the compound bow. It's good for them to know what they are in fact working with and the differences that they might run into. And then lastly, to help them know which hand to use to hold onto the bow, which will affect their shots, would be eye dominance. To get the archery equipment, you need to come to the basement down here. Make sure you don't forget the key. All the archery equipment is going to be found on these shelves here. Get the arrows, bring somebody with if it's too much to carry. And we've got different parts of the arrow that you should keep in mind. There is the arrow tip, that is the part that strikes the target and sticks in. There is the arrow shaft, which makes up the majority of the arrow. The fletchings, which are the feathers, usually it's just a piece of plastic up here. Notice one fletching should be an odd color. That is the part that you actually direct away from the string. And then you have the nock, that is the part that goes on the bowstring. When they are carrying the arrow, a good idea is to have them place one hand over the tip and one hand on the shaft. Sometimes they will have more than one arrows. It also works on the same idea, hand over the tips, hand on the shafts. This keeps them from tripping and falling on anything dangerous. There are two different types of bows. There is the recurve and the compound. The recurve does not have any moving parts, the compound does. When you first come across the recurve bow, it should be unstrung. The string should be on it, but it should not be tight, and it should be able to move. To string the bow, you want to place the tip on your foot as to not damage it on the ground. You need to then step through, and then you lever it across your thigh and slide it up. And then step back through carefully. This is now strung. Main parts of the bow are going to be the recurve part and the string. Now a lot of people when they first string it, they assume that they need to string it on this side, but no, it is in fact across the back here. When someone is using this, they want to again place the arrow, the odd fletching away from the string. There is a nock, which is this little brass part, which may help the arrow rest in the correct place. And they want to have the arrow on the side of the bow that is, in fact, towards the hand that is holding it. Next, we have the compound bow. There are many different parts of the compound bow here. This one, string, pulleys, bow. The recurve bow had an arrow rest. This one has a whisker biscuit. Again, odd fletching up onto the nock, and then you place it inside the whisker biscuit. The whisker biscuit helps it kind of stay in place. Here we are at the range. Now you'll notice as we walk into the range, we have these seating benches here for when someone is not shooting. This is a good place that they can be sitting while they wait their turn. As we move a little bit further, we have these posts here. These posts are similar to those posts. This is the shorter shooting range. This will be where the majority of your students will stand when they shoot. Now, at each placement, there should be one of these sticks. Feel free to get these out and then place them right where someone would stand. Normally we have 4 shooters at once. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is where the arrows will go when they're waiting, points down. And this is here for an arrow rest, but we don't always necessarily use it for that. To set up the range, you come back to the targets. There's a piece of wood here, just toss it over the top on either side. We have our handy dandy bow rack. Your compounds will go on these hooks here. Your recurve will just go off to the side. Generally we will have 4 compounds. 3 of them will be blue and will be right-handed. One will be pink, and that is the left-handed bow. The recurve can be used by both right and left-handed people. You need to determine which eye is dominant. To do that, there's one of two methods. The one that we have been taught mostly here at SWES is to form a triangle with your hands, put something in that triangle, relax your eyes, and bring it back. And people tend to bring it back to the eye that they are dominant with. Now, a couple pieces that we need to go over are safety and what you need to say as they go and shoot their bow and arrow. First things first, everyone that shoots needs to wear an arm guard. You can have them put them on. There's enough here that many people can be wearing them at once, otherwise have them put them on every time they go to shoot. Some people say, I'm wearing a hoodie. Do I have to wear one? Yes. Anytime someone fires a bow, they need to be wearing an arm guard. Arm guard is consistent with a triangle piece of cloth. The shorter end goes towards the wrist, and the fatter part goes towards the body, and then you just bring it up. While teaching out here, you will have a few different groups, and as you need to go up to the corral each time that a new group is going to be coming down, you need to bring with you the entire quiver of arrows. Do not forget any of the ones that are sitting up by the firing line. Make sure you have them all with you. By bringing the arrows with you, you remove any possibility of someone coming down either from the school group or from the charter school and using the arrows and bows and possibly hurting themselves. So the first command that you should give the students is, archers, go grab your bow. This will inform the next 4 people in line that they should in fact go grab their bow. At this point, they should be allowed to walk over to where they will be shooting from. Once they're all standing there patiently, you can then direct them to archers knock 1 arrow. This is where the archers will pick up 1 single arrow, keeping it downrange, odd fletching faces up or away from the bowstring, and then they should wait patiently, not having their bow drawn. Once everybody has done so, then you can say, archers, fire when ready. They can then point down towards the target, and they will draw back using 3 fingers, 1 finger above, 2 fingers below, back to their cheek. They aim with their dominant eye, and when they are ready, they release. At this point, they should be aware that they can continue firing until all arrows have been expelled. Be aware that some people, as they fire, may have their arrow fall off their bow. Be careful, watch out for that, and give those people extra help if necessary. So, once they have all continued firing, and they're waiting patiently with their bow resting on their foot, so to not damage them, you can then say, archers, return your bows. They will walk back over the bow stand. And then they will retrieve their arrows. At SWES, we place 1 hand on the target, and we pull out each individual arrow one by one and drop it to the ground. Once we have done so, we then pick them up as a group. Again, keeping 1 hand over the tips, 1 hand on the shafts, and we return them to the place that we shot from. They should then exit the range. While people are retrieving their arrows, they may go behind their targets to retrieve an arrow that was a little bit stray.